this year.
First pitch swinging, line drive, he's done it. John Means has no-hit the Mariners. They go! Brown fakes, dishes, Kyrie going for the 50-piece. Irving has 50!
Pressure from the Steelers. Mayfield in trouble, and he's going to be taken down. Who else but T.J. Watt?
First downs on this drive. Heineke, end zone, McLaurin, touchdown!
Torres drives that ball center field, hit deep, going back near the wall. Wilkerson, maybe, nope, goodbye, home run. Get him out of there! Don't throw to him.
I never seen anything like
Put
it.
up four fingers.
I've never seen anything like it.
He is just tearing the Orioles apart.
Jonathan Taylor, goodbye, touchdown, Indy, as he crossed the tape at the goal line. 78 yards.
And here we go.
All right, and we're back for another episode of the Sports Department Podcast with Justin Valentovic, Stephen Bologna, and Jesse Norman. It's been a while since I've been on one of these. You guys have been kind of helming the draft coverage, and here we are post-draft. It's Monday night. The 2022 NFL Draft is complete. 7 rounds, 260-plus picks, and a million other undrafted free agents, but we have our answer of where everyone will be playing next season at least. We will get into the entire first round. We'll touch on all the first round picks. We'll talk about where all the quarterbacks they ended up there, whatever. The two major blockbuster trades between Hollywood Brown going to the Cardinals, AJ Brown going to the Eagles, as well as we'll make our predictions for way too early offensive and defensive rookie of the year and which teams had the best and worst drafts. So before we get into that, guys, what's going on?
Oh, man, draft came and went. Get excited for it, and then now it's over. I already see
next year.
Some people had already dropping like 2023 mocks.
It's insane.
Hilarious. But no, it seemed like a good event. A lot of surprises, a lot of fallers, and probably the most players traded in the first round that we've seen in a long time. So
yeah, definitely once the trade started coming, it was very entertaining to watch, for sure, which was definitely a nice thing. So before we get into all of that, let's just start things off right off the bat with the first overall pick. Everyone thought it was going to be Aiden Hutchinson, but it ended up being Trayvon Walker to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He flew up draft boards kind of out of nowhere. Are you guys surprised? What do you guys think of this pick, at least for number one?
Yeah, this is a measurables pick, a guy who really helped himself at the combine and with workouts. I don't hate it. I mean, I don't think there was a grand slam number one pick in this draft anyway. So you might as well go with the guy you like the most.
I think it's interesting move to me because it's very obvious Balky's on the hot seat. So you take a guy could have tremendous upside, but also could be one of the biggest busts ever if it doesn't work out with his 1 year of solid college production. Whereas like Hutchinson's a much more safer pick, or one of the top tackles is a safer pick. So to me, that's where I'm surprised. I get the upside, but like he wasn't even the best player on his own defense.
Well, and that's why like I'm not really a major fan of this pick for the Jags, just because like Hutch was right there. And like he's had a consistent 4-year career of production at Michigan. And like you said, Walker kind of came out of nowhere and had one really good season, and they're banking on more of the guaranteed, production from Hutchinson, and that the overall production for Walker will be better than that in the long term, which Balky, that could be a problem.
Exactly. He needs this pick to work out to keep his job.
Yeah. So speaking of the second overall pick, Aiden Hutchinson went to the Detroit Lions. Good move for them. He fits their scheme perfect of what Dan Campbell wants to build with some guys who bite some kneecaps, but also he gets to stay home in Michigan with his family where he went to college. So this is a good pick for the Lions, right?
Very good.
Yeah, I think this is a great pick. The highest floor probably of most, I would say probably on the defensive side of the ball, at least in the draft. Yeah, I mean, I think at worst, I think Hutchinson is a above average starter in the NFL. I think you could compare him to like a Trey Hendrickson type floor. I think at that point, a guy can get double digit sacks and covers the run and can play all 3 downs.
And honestly, the Lions would probably like to have a guy like Trey Hendrickson leading their pass rush because he helped get the Bengals to the Super Bowl. And, I wasn't a fan of that move at first, but that really helped their defense. So hopefully this kind of helps the Lions progress nicely. So where the draft kind of really started was with the third pick after that with the Houston Texans, and they decided to take a cornerback off the board. And everyone kind of the consensus number one corner in the draft was Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati, but they do not go that way. They go and get LSU's Derek Stingley Jr.
Yes.
Big injury concern. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Stingley hasn't played pretty much in about 2 years. As a freshman, looked fantastic. Looked like he was going to be a top 10 pick. Haven't really seen him since then. They're betting on the talent. I don't love it necessarily. I don't love drafting a corner in the top 5 kind of in general, unless they're, like a Jalen Ramsey, which I think Gardner is much closer to, not saying he will be. Yeah, I mean, I don't really love it, but I guess I don't hate it as well.
It's odd because the consensus, like Justin said, was Sauce was the best corner available. And Jesse made a good point in the last mock draft. Talent doesn't just go away. I mean, Stingley's still young. He still has a ton to develop. And his 2019 tape, he looked like the top corner in the SEC, which is saying a lot as a freshman. If you're Houston, you really want that game changer. They were successful with J.J. Watt. And I thought Thibodeau was going to be the pick here. The fact that he fell to them at 3, offensive tackle would have been a good option too. Excuse me, but I guess you go with another high ceiling guy, a lot of potential, and you hope it works out.
Yeah, and
the interesting thing to note also is Gardner's also the better fit for Lovie Smith's defense. So I don't even think that they're committed to Lovie Smith long term. I think the front office probably saw Stingley as the best prospect, so they decided to grab him. I don't think they're committed to Lovie Smith very long term because Gardner is literally the best cover 2 corner that you could get.
Mm-hmm. So we head out to our neck of the woods with the Jets getting Sauce Gardner with one of their 3 first-round picks as the first round ended. And great pick for them. They get a corner that they've been long searching for since Darrelle Revis, and they're starting to build a foundation now for a defense that Rob Saleh can actually work with.
CB1, they got him.
Yeah.
Good for them.
It's a good pick. Hopefully, he to me is probably one of the least chances of busting.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the best corner in last year's draft and probably the year before that draft as well. He's probably the best prospect to come out in at least a couple of years.
So at number 5, the New York Giants got their pass rusher in Kayvon Thibodeau from Oregon. A lot of people thought he could be one of the top players in the draft, and he fell because a lot of people were starting to be worried of character concerns, more of him being a me guy than a team guy, but he ends up in New York.
Yeah, I think Thibodeau probably has the highest ceiling of anybody in this draft, which is interesting because Walker was kind of taken first overall because of the ceiling prospect. But I think Thibodeau's ceiling is higher. The floor is also probably just much lower. But if he works out, I mean, he's going to be really good. This was a great pick by the Giants. There was no other. I didn't think there was any other thing you went here.
They got tremendous value for him at 5, and they knew even if Carolina took a tackle, they would still have a top one available at 7. So, and that's how it worked out. So,
yeah, and Carolina did take a tackle at number 6, which is Ike Ekwonu from NC State. They hope to have their franchise left tackle for the next 10 plus years. If they took, say, a Malik Willis or a quarterback at 6, their rest of their draft would be absolutely nothing going into next season because obviously they wouldn't play necessarily right out of the gate. So they get a tackle, which they hope to anchor their offensive line for well into the future of whoever the next quarterback will be.
Yeah, best run blocking tackle in the draft. So they want to run the ball a lot. Good for them. They needed a tackle.
Yeah. And quarterback's way too high, especially with this class, as we've seen, because basically everyone except Pickett fell out of the second round, honestly. So, they got the best tackle available. So good for them.
We're back to the Giants. They took tackle Evan Neal from Alabama, so they're looking to bookend their tackles now with him and Andrew Thomas. So hopefully he can at least help and give whatever quarterback, either Danny Dimes or whoever else is out there, some more protection. But this is the first time they've actually had a good set of tackles for their offensive line in a long, long time.
Yeah, Neal was my number one player on my board. I think he is a freak athlete. He has incredibly long arms. I don't remember the last tackle that's come out at his size and been a bust since. The only one I can think of off the top of my head is like Greg Robinson when the Rams drafted him in like 2013.
Luke Jokel.
But like other than that, he was solid enough, but he didn't have he's not 6'7".
Yeah. Mekhi Becton's kind of getting there. A little bit.
Yeah, but he at least had the good year and then the injuries and stuff. I mean, just like straight up bust. Like I think Neal has such long arms that even at the worst case scenario, he is a really good pass blocker.
Yeah, he's 6'7" and just an absolute house.
Yeah.
Yeah, good pick for them. They hit an A+ in the first round.
So the Falcons patch a hole up left by Calvin Ridley because he got suspended for gambling. They went out and got USC's Drake London. So they're giving Marcus Mariota and now, of course, Desmond Ridder, who we know was there now, some targets to work with as they tried to rebuild the offense a little bit because they needed some firepower.
Yeah, I mean, they're making a tall offense. We'll see how it works. I'm interested, him and Kyle Pitts together. I mean, I don't know. Drake London wasn't my number one receiver, but I know he was the number one receiver for a good amount of people. So Falcons needed it. Can't really hate on it too much.
Yeah, no. Another pick that you can't really hate on is Charles Cross to Seattle. They've gotten a first-round lineman, which it's the best offensive lineman they've given anyone to play quarterback in Seattle, but especially because Russell Wilson hasn't had really any protection while he was there, which ultimately led to him leaving. So they're at least trying to start somewhere and build an offensive line. So good move with Charles Cross.
Agreed.
Nice. So at number 10 with their second pick in the first round, the Jets went out and got Garrett Wilson, who many consider to be one of the top wide receivers, if not the top receiver in the draft. So they give Zach Wilson a target to work with as they build another young offense.
My number one receiver, got him at 10, got him as the second receiver off the board. Has the highest floor, but that also doesn't mean his ceiling is low whatsoever. Runs a good 40, great route runner. Yeah, I think he was the most complete receiver in the draft.
Yeah. Like Jesse said, good value for the Jets here at 10. I've already seen some Jet fans, of course, overvaluing Garrett Wilson. I've seen on Twitter people saying that he's already better than like Devontae Adams, lie. So that's just Jet fans in general. But they're building some pieces around Zach Wilson. So
they're making it either to finally be able to evaluate him, or if they don't think he's the guy, they make an attractive landing spot for the next disgruntled quarterback to come in.
I saw the joke. It was like they have 2 Wilsons, 2 Michael Carters.
And
then 2 other of the same name. I forgot.
Hall, I think, because they just drafted Brees Hall.
Yeah,
Bryce Hall. Brees Hall.
Yeah,
that's funny.
So at number 11, originally held by the Commanders, they traded out with the New Orleans Saints. They come up and they go get Chris Olave from Ohio State. So another Ohio State receiver down in the Bayou to work with Jameis Winston.
They gave up a lot for this.
Yes,
they gave up a lot for that. Sure, you needed another receiver, I guess. I don't think you.
This necessarily wouldn't have been the pick I wanted to have went out and got per se. Obviously they get a offensive tackle later in the draft, which they definitely needed with why is the name's
Penning?
Penning.
No, not Penning. Who's the one who left?
Teron Armstead.
Yes. So they replace later on. They get Trevor Penning, but receiver wouldn't necessarily have been my first pick for them. But
and plus Jameson Williams was still on the board too.
Yeah.
So you could have even waited it out and seen like when one of those guys was going to be left and make the trade off.
So speaking of Jameson Williams, the Lions came all the way up from 32, traded up to number 12, gave up a bunch of picks as well.
And they made a good trade. The Vikings did not get good value back.
No. And they took Jameson Williams, so they give Goff a weapon, and they once again are kind of trying to build a nice little young core. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah, and TJ Hawkinson. Not a bad receiving core out in.
Montez Cephas.
Oh, can't forget about him.
Believe Raymond, Josh Reynolds.
No, I like what they're doing.
And they signed Chark too.
Yeah, I like what they're doing out in Detroit at least. So at number 13, the Philadelphia Eagles traded back in and got Jordan Davis. So definitely the replacement for Fletcher Cox after the end of this year, but they're trying to build through the trenches again because that's how they won their Super Bowl back a few years ago with just an insane pass rush. And here he is. He's a mountain of a human being, and he's going to be playing in the NFC East.
And they keep him and Nakobe Dean together.
I think they traded up for Jameson Williams here. But because, I mean, I did not expect the Lions to take a receiver there.
They didn't have to trade up for Jameson Williams. We'll get to that later. They
yes,
they
good
had
point.
something better.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Jordan Davis, he's a freak athlete. So hopefully he can stay on the field. So.
Doesn't make your life a living hell.
Yeah.
At number 14, the Baltimore Ravens got Notre Dame safety Kyle Hamilton, who fell pretty far. And for the Ravens, they're building an even better defense now.
Ravens probably have like the best draft overall, if we're all being honest, like in this. And it starts with this pick. Top 5 prospect, got him at 14, didn't have to move for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus they
but the Ravens do.
Ojabo too in the second.
They could have their next Ed Reed potentially on their hands, which is a nightmare to think for the NFL. Then at 15, the Houston Texans got guard Kenyon Green from Texas A&M. Good. They need
reached, but only by a couple picks.
But
there
also
was no other guard.
But also they're a team that needs everything. So at this point, why not?
Why not just take the best player available? I didn't think you needed to reach for a guard.
At that point, I would have taken like Penning and flipped Titus Howard inside.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, or I would have taken Zion Johnson over Green
true.
Anyway. I mean, that's just personal preference. They're probably like 1A, 1B. But I would just go for a better prospect. I think there's just way better prospects available.
So finally, by way of Indianapolis via Philadelphia from New Orleans, the Washington Commanders get into the first round and they take wide receiver Jahan Dotson from Penn State. So they get a nice receiver to pair with Terry McLaurin, also to replace Terry McLaurin if they do not re-sign him. But they get a good receiver nonetheless to at least work with Carson a little bit. And they got a receiver. Good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Steve. Have fun.
A little bit of a reach. Maybe not too much, but, I think Jahan Dotson's a really good prospect. He is lethal against man coverage, great open field presence, best hands in college football with the amount of targets that he got. So I'm honestly super excited. 4.3 speed. Ron Rivera literally said that he's going to be the slot guy. So that
and I think that's definitely where he works. The best is as a quick slot. Yeah, a little bit of an overdraft, but I mean, you can't complain too much.
You know what the thing is, though, you look at a team like let's say Washington goes offensive line or something.
Yeah.
Then you get a team like the Packers who scramble for a receiver in the second round. And it's like, hopefully Christian Watson can turn out to be something good.
At that point, it's better to reach within the round that you're drafting anyway than figure it out later and get something not as good as you thought you were getting.
And the trade back got Washington an extra third and a fourth, which helped them out big time because they entered that night without a third and a fourth.
Exactly.
So I like the pick. I think Jahan Dotson, he was a great kid, seems super excited. So I'm excited.
17, the Chargers took Zion Johnson, the guard from Boston College. Good move for them because they need to keep Justin Herbert upright and healthy. So you can't complain too much here.
Yep, good pick.
Gotta love the boring picks for the QBs.
Yeah, exactly. And at number 18, let's talk about it a little bit here as well. The Tennessee Titans got their first round pick from the Philadelphia Eagles, and they took Treylon Burks, the wide receiver from Arkansas. The reason being is they traded A.J. Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles, who promptly got a $100 million contract with $57 million guaranteed over 4 years. So he's now in the NFC East, and they replaced him with essentially himself in Tennessee.
I think it's. I mean, we can't call Treylon Burks AJ Brown. I don't think that.
No, but measurable wise, he's a very similar receiver.
Yeah, but he's a slot. He's not even an outside guy. I think this is a terrible move for Tennessee.
They had to they had to either pay him or move him. They didn't want to pay him.
I mean,
but also,
and here's the worst part about not wanting to pay him. Allegedly, they were fine to do 22. They didn't want to do 25, which is what Philly did. $3 million is what lost you your number one receiver.
Well,
a backup running back.
Well, here's the
a
thing
backup QB.
That's what wide receivers are now, is $20+ million players, which is insane to think about. The Christian Kirk contract really fucked the wide receiver market, if we're being honest. And this is teams trying to not, keep going with that trend and trying to reset the market a little bit. And now it seems like,
but then another team just pays them.
Well, that's exactly it though. But it seems like wide receiver is almost turning into a running back, where they're coming out of college more pro ready than ever. So it seems like, well, would you rather pay some guy $20 million when you could get similar production from a player coming out of college on a rookie deal, rather than a massive expensive contract, and you could help your team at least in other positions? That's kind of where
I watched the Steelers all through the 2000s.
No, I know, but
we never offered a receiver a second contract.
No, I know, but this seems to be the trend now with wide receivers.
Yeah. Good for the Eagles though to pick him up. Hopefully he works out.
They can't draft receivers, so they said we'll get a surefire.
Well, they've taken a wide receiver in the first round the past 3 drafts.
Yeah, I mean they hit Devonta, so I mean that's cool. But good for them. This is a great trade for them.
And I love Titans, that.
I sure hope Treylon Burks works out.
I love that ESPN's graphic fired the second the deal went through. Comparison: Treylon Burks, AJ Brown.
Brown.
That was so funny.
But the Titans are slowly, and not necessarily rebuilding, but they're planning for the post. They're planning for the future at this point.
And the fact they took Willis without consulting Tannehill just shows the inevitable that Tannehill.
Well, exactly. This current iteration
of stealing him in the third round is a joke.
Yeah, the current iteration of the Titans though are definitely coming to a close. I could happily say
in the next year or so. Yeah, I think they run it back another year or so.
So at 19, the New Orleans Saints, like we talked about a little bit before, they took Trevor Penning from Northern Iowa. He's an offensive tackle. He replaces Teron Armstead. Can't complain there. Good move. Smart move.
Yeah, fine.
All right, Jesse, at number 20, your Steelers took Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh. He just has to walk across the hall in the training facility. He's home in Pittsburgh by way of South Jersey, similar to your career path, basically.
I don't think that was that. I don't think he's from South Jersey.
He is from South Jersey. He's from Ocean.
He is? Wow.
Yeah, he's from Ocean.
Wow, look at him.
Yeah, look at that.
I hope I'm wrong about this. He was like my quarterback 4 at the end of this process. He's really good in the middle of the field. He doesn't throw outside very often. He bails on plays pretty quickly. I liked Malik Willis more, a lot more. I really wanted Willis. Could have just drafted somebody else and gotten Willis in the second round. Apparently, we know that.
Hey, man, this is Kevin Colbert's last draft before he retires. It can be the gift that keeps on giving.
Maybe it will be,
or maybe
I don't feel
it won't.
Good about the pick, but
Blowing your thoughts.
I'll tell you one thing: he better start. You don't draft the most pro-ready guy and then put him on the bench for Trubisky. That's a joke.
Yeah, I this is going to be my offensive rookie of the year pick. I do think Pickett gets the starting job, and he's got a great team around him. He's got a pretty much win now team ready to go. So I'm with Jesse. I did like Willis a little bit more. Teams obviously must not have liked him if he fell that far. And Pickett was clearly the number one QB for the Steelers. Great smokescreen by the Steelers, who reports from day one of Senior Bowl. Mike Tomlin is in love with Malik Willis, and here it is. They take Kenny Pickett. So he's got to work out. You hope he will. The 5 years of college, the draft age is a little concerning. I saw that he's older than Jordan Love, funny enough. So
it's like Joe Burrow, who came in older than Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but Joe Burrow led the greatest offense in college football history.
Yes.
So Pickett's got to work out. That's going to be riding on the Steelers front office.
So at 21, the Kansas City Chiefs got some secondary help. They took Trent McDuffie from Washington. He's a cornerback. Yeah, they needed it.
Good pick for them.
Yep, nothing more to go into. And then here comes the first major head scratcher as well at 22. Green Bay Packers needing a receiver, needing to replace Devontae Adams, the massive hole that he left in that offense. What did he do and go and get? Quay Walker, linebacker from Georgia. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a reach. I thought Quay Walker would have gone early second, like late first, like talking pick 30. He probably would have been there with their later pick. Didn't get many snaps on the Georgia defense because, I mean, the Georgia defense had so many NFL players. But, I mean, we'll see. He's talented. This Packers are, and I mean, we'll talk about it more with their second pick. They are just going all in, I guess, on having the best possible defense that they can possibly have.
Yeah.
And what's funny is, I don't know if you guys saw the quote, but Roger said, he's like, yeah, I signed my contract not knowing Devontae was going to leave. So
Yeah.
the fact
well,
that
and the GM said, let's be clear, we don't have a 3-year deal with Rodgers. We have 3 1-year deals.
Yep.
yeah,
We're set up
so
for a very messy offseason.
Christian
Again, with
Watson
him.
better work out. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. So at 23, the Bills take Kyrie Elam, cornerback from Florida. They get a
I
position.
actually really love this pick.
Yeah, it's a good pick.
It's a good pairing with
think-
Tre'Davious White.
And I think he's a guy that's going to like grind down and watch a ton of film, help that secondary a ton. The Bills had a really good draft.
Yeah. So
Good pick.
what?
Good pick.
Mm-hmm. So 24, the Dallas Cowboys take Tyler Smith. He's an O tackle from Tulsa.
Yeah.
They need to
You
replace
let
Lyle
La'el
Collins.
They didn't need to let him go. Just be better with your book, guys.
Well,
literally.
and Tyrone Smith will eventually retire soon, so you got to assume that this guy
Well,
will
he's going to miss
slide
6
over.
games this year at least.
So that's that. At 25, the Baltimore Ravens take center Tyler Linderbaum,
So good.
who's the best center in the draft, and they got a guy who probably will be their starter if he's healthy for the next 10 plus years. Congrats, they got Marshall Yanda again, basically. So they're fine. Good pick.
Yep.
At 26, the Jets trade back in for the first round to go get Jermaine Johnson from Florida State.
When me and Bologna did our mock,
yes,
Jermaine Johnson accidentally split.
I saw.
And I was like, oh my God, there's no chance he would even be available this late. Incredible pick. Literally, probably the best value pick in the first round. This was my third rated pass rusher. And he also can play running downs. It's not even like he's a pass rusher that is specific for just third down.
Yeah, they're finally building a nice young defense for Rob Saleh for him to finally take advantage of, similar to what he had in San Francisco. So it's exciting to see what the Jets have done so far this draft.
Yeah.
So to round things out, Jaguars took Devin Lloyd at 27.
Great pick.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm not really a fan of the Jaguars draft in general. At 28, the Packers went out and got Devontae Wyatt from Georgia.
Another person. I mean, they're good to put next to Kenny Clark, I guess.
Yeah. Sure.
Defense.
And then the biggest reach of the draft at 29 from Chattanooga, the Patriots took Cole Strange. Never heard of this person a day in my life.
Patriots made several bad picks, and then watch all the linemen will probably end up panning out.
Yeah.
I don't know why you don't just pay Shaq Mason.
Why do we question what the Patriots do at this point with Belichick? It doesn't matter. They'll
That's
win.
fair.
They'll win still.
They'll win.
So 30, George Karlaftis went to
George Karlaftis.
whatever.
But yeah.
Went to the Kansas City Chiefs. They get a good pass rusher to, fill the hole. Frank Clark is leaving because he sucks.
Good pick for the Chiefs.
He's been a disappointment, Frank Clark, as a whole.
Yeah, no, but this is a good pick. This was a guy that I thought was in play for them at 21 as well. So good for them holding and still being able to get him.
And we had a pair of safeties close out the first round. Daxton Hill to the Bengals and Lewis Seen to the Vikings. Thoughts on those picks?
Both good picks.
I like Daxton Hill.
Yeah, I was going to say I like Hill, and I especially like him being able to play. He's probably going to play a good amount of slot corner with Mike Hilton, kind of as a nickel corner, and play with Jesse Bates and Von Bell. And then probably one of them moves on next year. I would assume it's Bell.
Yeah.
Because Bates should be your franchise player.
So real quick, before we wrap up this half, take a break and come back and wrap up this podcast. Who is your early offensive player of the year candidate? Bologna, you said Kenny Pickett already. Jesse, who are you going with?
I probably have to go with Pickett as well.
Yeah, I'm going to take the safe bet and go with him as well because he'll probably start first quarter of the season, if anything, if not out of the gate. And he has some good talent around him as well in Pittsburgh. So defensive player of the year, who are you guys feeling?
Give me Aiden Hutchinson. Yeah, Hutchinson.
Yeah, he has like we've said before, the lowest floor possible. And I think he'll have enough production to at least be, the best
Lions
player.
could also be interesting. And if he's like an impact player on a revitalized team that can maybe like sneak a couple wins in and maybe, finish 9-8,
they were close last year in a bunch of games.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they've improved a lot.
I got to look at their schedule, but they can probably flirt with 6 to 7 wins at that point.
They'll get a last place one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the best and worst draft class, as well as where all the quarterbacks landed. So we'll be back in just a few seconds. All right, and we're back to the second half of the draft recap podcast. So let's just jump right into it and talk about the quarterbacks. We hit on Kenny Pickett. He was the only one to go in the first round to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we're like, okay, maybe, second round, they'll start coming off the board. Nope, we went through the whole second round. None of them came off the board. They didn't start coming off the board until the third round and later in the draft. So the first one to come off, everyone thought then would it be Malik Willis, but that was actually Desmond Ridder to the Falcons. He went third round, 74th overall. Then later in the draft, Malik Willis went third round, 86th overall. And then later also, but I'm trying to find it, in the third round, 94th overall, Matt Corral went to the Panthers. And then later on in the fifth round, Sam Howell went to the Commanders. So initial thoughts on their landing spots: Corral to the Panthers, Ridder to the Falcons, Willis to the Titans, and Howell to the Commanders.
Honestly, I love literally every landing spot for every quarterback. I would maybe flip Willis and Ridder. I thought Ridder would be really good as a backup for Tannehill. That being said, I love the Matt Corral fit with Carolina. Obviously, we don't know if Rule's going to be there, but they run RPO. They can run RPOs. That's what Corral specializes in, is RPOs and quick throws. Howell, I also love for Washington. I thought overall Washington reached on a couple picks, but if Howell pans out, that can honestly save their draft. Because I've said numerous times, if Howell is 6'4", he is a first round pick. It is the lack of size that really hurt him. And he did not have a good year this year. He regressed definitively. But also, I think we need to look at his offensive line was significantly worse than it was the year before. The offensive playbook changed. He also lost 2 running backs that both went to the NFL, and Michael Carter and Javonte Williams. So he was playing with significant less. De'Ami Brown also. Yeah.
He's with the Commanders. Yeah.
Year. He's with them too. So Howell literally lost majority of his offense this last year at UNC. So the regression was fair. I thought this was still a borderline first, maybe slip into the second round guy that fell all the way to the fifth.
Yeah, I love the Sam Howell pick for Washington. I think getting him in the fifth, it was just too long for him sitting there. Ron Rivera said that if they didn't pursue Carson and they went the draft route, Howell was arguably their top guy. So the fact that you get him in the fifth, I think the plan is you sit him for the entire year, you let him play the preseason. If Carson doesn't work out, you have a fresh 23-year-old quarterback to kind of step in. If Carson does work out and he's the future for the next few years,
you have a cheap backup.
You only spent a fifth-round pick. It's not like you spent a first. So I do like the fit there. Corral to the Panthers is going to be interesting. Got to see how short the leash is with Darnold.
He probably plays by literally week 4.
I would assume so, because
I think he'll be.
I mean, they were pulling the plug at some point, for PJ Walker, who was in the AAF.
Yeah.
Hey man, that was XFL MVP PJ Walker.
Was he in the XFL?
He was going to be the XFL MVP. Yeah.
Oh
yes, he was. I think the Willis to the Titans. I think the fans are really going to get behind the Willis train if Tannehill starts to make some bad throws.
Well, this could also be the end of the Tannehill era. If he gets hurt, and Willis plays somewhat competent, he ain't coming back. He's done.
Yeah, well, I also think best case scenario with Willis too, you can just set him for the whole year behind Tannehill.
Oh, absolutely.
Run the Tannehill, Derrick Henry thing back one more time, and then next year move into Willis, and you still have Derrick Henry probably for at least another year or two. Prime Henry.
Yeah, and I think Atlanta might have just wanted a more established guy just to kind of step in and hopefully they're a team that's
Mariota's gonna get hurt at some point too. Love Mariota,
but that's just the nature of how he is.
That's what's gonna happen.
Well, the injuries
he's a little brittle.
The injury is ultimately what caused him to end his tenure in Tennessee.
That's why he's not a starter. That's literally the issue with Marcus Mariota is you won't have him for a full season.
I wonder what number is he wearing since Pitts wears 8. That's just stupid shit I think about.
What number? Ritter?
No, Mariota, because he wore number 8 everywhere. And then Pitts wears 8 in Atlanta. He's wearing number 1. Oof, interesting.
Okay. That look kind of cool.
No, I know. It's just that's like the weird shit I just think about though during these things. No, I liked all where all the quarterbacks kind of went, similar to what Jesse said. It just they all kind of fit each landing spot. It makes sense.
I will say Carson Strong being undrafted was a bit of a shock to me. Once thought to be a first round pick. But yeah, he must be the medicals just must be god awful. But it fits perfectly. He went to the Eagles, who just really doesn't seem to care about medicals. So
I was also going to say, very weird if he were to end up like being okay and being their backup. Mm-hmm. You would have to have an entirely different playbook.
Yes, because him and Hurts, their place
Hurts to Carson Strong.
Yeah.
That would literally be like going from Jalen Hurts.
Well, that's the thing. Kind of look at like where all the other quarterbacks went. Similar play styles of Pickett to Trubisky, right? You don't have to amend the playbook too much. Ritter to Mariota, not much difference. Willis to Tannehill, they can kind of all do. They can both.
I think Willis kind of expands your playbook there.
That is a lot of play action bootlegs, which Willis will be able to get out and run, which Tannehill has no problem with doing. Corral is similar to.
That playbook's not built for a quarterbback, so they don't know who's playing quarterback, so they
exactly
built the playbook.
And Carson to Howell isn't much different either.
Gunslingers for sure.
So at least in that regard, it's set up to where they could step in if they need to, and hopefully have success.
Yeah, I think there was only like 2 other quarterbacks taken. Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant, which is funny for the Niners. So
Zappy
to the Patriots.
He was picked before Howell.
Yes.
Yeah, that was weird.
Wow,
that was weird.
Just an odd, really bad quarterback year. Obviously, time's gonna tell, but just.
And then you look at next year. I mean, and there's like 5 to 6 potential first round quarterbacks. Like.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I saw someone set the over under as 6.5 for first round quarterbacks next year already.
Yeah.
Which is like I can't even think of 6.5 teams that would need a quarterback out the gate already.
Teams always do. Everybody.
No, I agree. Like the quarterback turnover is always a thing, but it's like
let's just think offhand real quick.
Vikings
will be back. Carolina will be back in. Vikings will be back in. Washington most likely if Wentz doesn't work out.
Texans. Lions.
Texans will probably be back in. Lions will definitely
go to the poster.
Be back in. And then there'll have
Tampa,
teams that are going to make calls on guys.
Miami, maybe if Tua doesn't work out.
Seattle, definitively.
Okay, fuck, never mind.
Let's say
Chicago,
the Raiders and Carr always seem to have something going on. I mean, I would imagine not with Devontae now, but there'll be teams that are making decisions on
Indianapolis,
the Giants too.
For the future.
If Rogers leaves,
Indianapolis,
Packers,
Green Bay.
Okay, never mind. I was wrong. Jesus.
You always need quarterback.
Something you guys wanted to hit on in the break was biggest steals or surprising falls in the draft. So I'll let you guys just take it away. Bologna or Jesse?
Jesse, take it.
My biggest steal, Christian Harris, round 3, Houston Texans. Versatility wise, he reminds me of a Micah Parsons where you can line him up inside, outside, put him all over the place. I honestly think maybe a better comparison for him is Bud Dupree, where you could put him inside and put him outside and kind of play him on the line. I thought he could have possibly snuck into the late first round, possibly early second, just off of the national championship tape alone. But I think this was a really good pick for the Texans.
Yeah. I think the Seattle got Daniel
Falele, fourth round.
He seemed like he was going to be a top tackle in the draft.
Oh, you mean the Ravens? The Ravens got
the Ravens got him. Okay,
the Ravens got him fourth round.
Yep, the two birds. That was an interesting one. And then the Nakobe Dean obviously was.
Yeah,
not sure what happened there, but something did.
Medicals. They must be apparently horrible.
Yeah, and Dean is definitely a scheme fit for only like 5 to 6 teams. But there was no reason that those 5 to 6 teams should have passed on him so many times. The Seahawks in the fourth round did draft a steal of a player, in my opinion, and that was Kobe Bryant from Cincinnati, the corner that played opposite of Sauce Gardner. I had him as a second round prospect. Long, physical, exactly what they like. And then they followed it up with getting another steal, and I think in Tariq Woolen, the cornerback from UTSA, who also is a long, athletic man corner.
Yeah. I know Justin's cheeks are going to get all rosy, but Bernard Raymond, he seems like a physical house.
Yeah. The tight end, too. The tight end that the Colts drafted, too, I like.
Woods, right?
Jelani Woods, yep. Yeah.
Oh, they also got Bernard Raymond in the third round.
That's what Bologna was.
Oh, never mind. Wasn't listening. And then Nick Cross, nice rotation.
I got
safety.
some great Nick Cross highlights if you want to watch them, Justin.
Please send them my way.
Against Jahan Dotson.
Yeah. That was actually going to be the draft class that I shill about a little bit, which would have been the Colts for. I think they had one of the better draft classes, as we were saying.
I give it a C, man.
Shut up. Hey, whoever put that on,
especially for not having a first.
Whoever made that
was Chad Reuter.
Was it really?
Yeah,
I got called. But no, I don't get how you rate the Colts draft class the absolute worst when they were literally drafting people in New England that they've never heard of or D3 players at that point. But Alec Pierce, you fit a position need of wide receiver, a nice pairing with Michael Pittman. Jelani Woods is basically a carbon copy of Mo Alley Cox. They get Bernard Raymond, who is going to be their future left tackle, you would assume, and then a nice rotational safety in Nick Cross. So I'm very happy.
Would you say they had the best draft?
Not the best draft, but they had a pretty damn good one.
Yeah, no, they did.
What do you guys think?
I got to watch more Alec Pierce highlights to kind of make a judgment.
If I'm being quite honest, I had no idea who the hell he was going in. Like when they said that.
Jordy Nelson, Julian Edelman,
Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
You lead with your draft because I have a couple that I can.
Yes. Let me just pull up because I don't remember who they got late, but Texans for me, I thought really had a strong early draft. That they got a lot of guys that are going to be able to come in and help them out day one. Obviously, they started off with Derek Stingley, who you hope is really good. The Kenyon Green is just going to help boost the offensive line. They got Jalen Petre, 37th overall, who I was really high on. I was hoping he was going to fall to Washington, but that's obviously unrealistic. He's a safety, can play corner, good in coverage. They got John Mechie as well, who before his injury could have been wide receiver 1 in this class. So to get him, maybe just a few weeks missed because he did tear it kind of late. He tore it before Jameson Williams, funny enough. So you'll see when he can make his return. Jesse's steal of the draft, Christian Harris, who is just awesome. I thought he could have been a first overall pick. He got him at 75th. And then you got a running back with Dameon Pierce from Florida. Good rotational running back. They still have David Johnson?
I don't think so.
That he could legit be their starting running back. So
they got Marlon Mack though.
Did they really?
Yeah, they signed Marlon Mack.
I would have never guessed that.
I wouldn't either.
Johnson
would have never known.
Mack to the Texans.
Yeah, no, but I think they just got a lot of really good players who can develop into some studs.
Yeah, no, they're building a nice team for whoever their next quarterback is. If they tank out for Bryce Young or whoever, flies up the draft boards next year in the draft class, because that's what I would assume they would go from. You can't run Davis Mills out another year. They're kind of in the Washington boat where it's like you kind of know what you have in Mills, like what kind of had in Heineke, and you just can't go back to that well again.
Yeah.
So Jesse, who's your class? What are you shilling over?
I mean, overall, I think who has the best draft class? I think the Ravens nailed it. I mean, Hamilton, Linderbaum. We didn't even talk about Ojabo, who, if he comes back healthy, is an absolute menace pass rushing. Travis Jones, who is a perfect scheme fit for them, and then Daniel Falele in the 4th round. They smashed every pick. The Bills, I thought, had a very good draft. Kyer Elam, very good corner. James Cook is a running back who can play a lot of slot receiver, which I think is very interesting to fit with them. And then to fit also Khalil Shakir, who I think can replace Cole Beasley. And then they also got Matt Araiza, the punter, which they needed a better punter.
The punt god.
You don't need. I mean, when you're like Buffalo, you need to kind of get better on the fringes, and that's what they did. Like they're now kind of overstacked with riches, which is what they need to do to compete in the AFC. And then finally, the Seahawks draft. I think it's so funny, man. They waited until they traded Russell Wilson, and then they just decided, yeah, we're gonna have a really good draft. Charles Cross.
Well, how do you think they got those picks?
Well, Charles Cross hits. I think that's a great tackle. Kenneth Walker. I mean, obviously, you guys know I love Kenneth Walker. I don't love this pick. I don't think it was great. I think there's been a lot of reports that Carson is probably done. He's never probably
broke his neck.
There's like a issue there. He's probably never going to play again.
Yeah.
So they got Walker's good insurance, especially if Penny leaves or gets hurt. He's a good physical runner. He'll fit there. Abraham Lucas probably going to be a starting tackle for them. And then, like I said, Kobe Bryant and Tariq Woolen, 2 corners who are probably going to be starters within a couple of years, honestly.
Very good.
Those are my 3 that I think really killed it.
Do you want to start things off with the worst draft classes, Jesse, or you want us to
I'll say it.
You can take a breath. We can come back, get some water.
I'll keep it simple. I think Patriots reached a ton. I also think Washington reached, but with Washington, if Howell hits, it doesn't matter. Like, that's kind of worth it.
It's hard to grade draft classes just because, like, I was looking at this today. The 2020 Jaguars draft class was ranked an A+ on ESPN with CJ Henderson, who they already traded away, Caleb Von Chason, who barely plays, and Laviska Shenault, who's always in trade rumors. So that I feel is it's hard to grade. Washington, I agree, Jesse, they did kind of reach a little bit on some of their picks, but nevertheless, I think they kind of turned it around day 3 with some good rotational guys. I think the Bears had a rough draft.
Bears did have a rough draft.
I mean, this is a team with a solid defense and in desperate need for some offensive weapons, and they stockpile the defense. I mean,
no help to Fields.
Yeah, Kyler Gordon's good. They drafted Velus Jones. He's really fast, but he's 26 years old. I mean,
what is he, Brandon Wheat?
Yeah. Like, again, he's great, but they got no help for their guy that they want to build a franchise around. So I think that was a rough draft. And I don't really – the Cardinals, I feel like, didn't really do much either, right? Like,
I mean, they also traded that first
for Hollywood.
I don't think Hollywood worked first.
For me, a draft I'm not really fond of is actually the Jaguars, like I kind of alluded to earlier. Trayvon Walker, not high on that pick. Didn't really like the Devin Lloyd pick either. Luke Fortner, their center, they took in the 3rd round, fine. And Chad Muma, another linebacker.
He's good.
Yeah, but they just took a lot of positions they kind of already had. They took 2 cornerbacks and a running back. They still have Travis Etienne coming back. It was just
I did think the running back pick was bizarre.
It was a lot of repetition, like a repetitive.
What running back did they take?
Snoop Connor.
No idea.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's what it was. I'll put it this way: for a brand new first overall draft class with Doug Peterson coming in, it wasn't as good as I thought it could have been.
It would have helped if they had Hutch or Thibodeau.
Yes, I completely agree. So, any last thoughts on the draft before we wrap things up?
Looking forward to 2023, baby.
It was.
When's the first 23 mock coming out? We need views.
Yeah,
I'll do it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we gotta have an NBA mock.
Ooh, yeah.
Because he wants to do an NHL mock. He said.
Bust out the notebook.
And then MLB mock with Justin.
Yeah. So
Justin give you the first round pick, and that's first overall pick, and that's it.
Then I'm done. That's it. That's all I know. But we'll have a Wrestlemania Backlash podcast later on in the week. We'll probably get to an MLB podcast after that. And the NBA playoffs is going on. So Jesse will probably touch on that once we get to conference finals, maybe. Who knows? Follow all of our social medias. The links are all down below and whatnot. So stay tuned for more episodes when we do them.